Hi, and welcome to the Bennington VNA and Hospice News and Information. I'm your host, Mark Mealy, and this is the first show of a regular series to inform you of upcoming events, clinics, health news, and information that the Bennington VNA and Hospice has to offer the community. For those of you who don't know, in October of 2014, the Bennington VNA and Hospice, also known as BAVNAH, was purchased by the Rutland Area VNA and Hospice. While we're no longer affiliated with the Southwestern Vermont Medical Center, we still work collaboratively with the hospital to offer the highest quality care to individuals in Bennington County. BAVNAH is a local Medicaid certified home health and hospice agency. Currently, we are the only nonprofit VNA and hospice serving Bennington County. How does that differ? Well, BAVNAH is governed by a volunteer board of directors, and the money received goes back into the programs offered by the community. Services include nursing, therapy, social work, hospice, and plenty more, all which help to keep patients safe and comfortable in their own homes. Today, I'm here to talk to Mary Pleasant, who is our volunteer coordinator, and she has a couple of upcoming events that we'd like to talk to her about. And welcome, Mary.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
So, Mary, just tell us, how long have you been with the VNA and Hospice?
Well, I started with the corporation in 1997, so it's been a while. I definitely feel like BAVNAH is home. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. I couldn't imagine working with the people, not working with the people that I do. They're incredible. It really is a family, and I'm honored to be a part of it.
Well, what made you choose to go into as a hospice coordinator?
Well, it kind of fell into my lap, literally. At the time, I walked into our director's office. I was in the billing office working on some administrative assignments, and I told her that I was bored. And she said, well, we have just the thing for you.
I can hear that.
I had just received my degree, and she said, this position has opened up. At the time, we were working toward becoming hospice certified, and we needed a volunteer program. So I was scared to death. I'm like, wow. But I did some research, and I really grew into the position. And now I couldn't imagine doing anything else. And I've never said that I was bored since.
I bet. Well, you have an upcoming event called the Tree of Hope.
Yes.
And tell us a little bit about that.
So our Tree of Hope is an annual event that preceded me. It has been going on in the community for many, many years. We offer it either in late May or early June every year, and it's just a really great time for the community to come together. You don't have to be affiliated with hospice, but it's a great event for anyone in the community grieving the loss of a loved one to come and be with peers. The service itself is very intimate. It's filled with music and poetry and beautiful stories, and we actually add perennials and annuals to our to our spring memorial garden. So each year our garden grows, and it sits right underneath our Tree of Hope. It's now actually located right on our premises at 1128 Monument Avenue, which is really nice because it's right there, and we can go out, and we invite the community to go out and visit our Tree of Hope and just reminisce and think about their loved one, even if they can't make it to the event. But the event is just so wonderful. We've had many, many people attend and just call me up days later and say how moving it really was.
Is there a cost for anyone to come to this, or is it, and it's open to the
public?
public?
Oh, no, it's free. It's free, and anyone can come of all ages. So if you're thinking, oh, geez, is mom just too frail? She's not. Bring her. And also, kids. Kids are definitely welcome. You know, the music, the kids really get into it, and I don't know how many times I've had seniors in the community come over and say just how happy they were to have been able to be a part of it, even if they couldn't go up and plant a flower. You know, one of our staff would go up and plant it for them, and it just really meant the world to them.
Now, what kind of flowers are provided? Is it something that BAVNAH provides, or people can bring their own, or how does that work?
Well, either or.
Okay.
So BAVNAH will actually go and purchase some perennials and annuals that'll be available around the Tree of Hope and the garden itself. But if there was a special plant that meant a lot to the person that you're coming to remember, we encourage you to bring your own.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, you know, we want this to be as moving and powerful as it can be for you in coming to remember the loved one that you've lost.
Now, I think a minute ago you had mentioned something about there'll be poetry, readings, singing as well. Who does that? Is that part of the staff? Is it the hospice, or is it people who attend? Can anybody read anything, or is it just, how does that work too?
Well, let me start off by saying you don't want to hear me sing.
Me either.
So we actually have an amazing group. Our Serenity Singers are a volunteer-based group within our Hospice Volunteer program, and they rehearse once a week. Their main philosophy and mission is bringing music to the bedside of terminally ill patients, but they participate in our Winter Memorial and our Spring Memorial and other community outreach programs that take place throughout the year. So they'll be providing the music.
Okay.
So rest assured it won't be me. And then the poetry is usually read by our staff. If there were someone who was coming who really wanted to read a poem or have a poem read that meant a lot to them, you could call me. Anyone in the community could call me, and I would happily add that poem to the program. And if they wanted to, they could come up and read.
And what's the best number to call BAVNAH at?
It would be 442-5502,
Okay.
and my extension is 4567.
Okay, great. Now, I read somewhere on a flyer that there's going to be a reception, a small reception. Now,
And again, I'm not cooking, so this is like really the best of all worlds here. So yes, there's a short reception afterwards, and our volunteers and our staff all provide the food. So it's really great to come together after such a moving ceremony, to be able to chat with one another and maybe touch base with our nurses and our aides who have actually provided care to your loved one possibly, or actually talk with our bereavement counselor maybe, if you're really having a difficult time, because we do offer support throughout the community all year long, and that is also open to the entire community.
And that's an important fact to put out there. Now, what is the date and the time of this event?
So it'll be May 17th at 3 p.m.
And that's a Saturday?
It's a Sunday.
It's a Sunday. Okay.
Yes.
Sunday, May 17th at 3 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're hoping for good weather.
Yeah, that's always helpful. But there is a tent and table, and so if it's a little bit drizzly that day, people can at least sit under the tent and still listen to the.
Yeah, usually we worry about heat because usually the rain stays away, but of course this year it'll probably downpour on us because I've said that.
Well, we'll hope for the best. So just segueing in a little bit more about a hospice volunteer.
Sure.
What would somebody who thought, I might be interested in becoming a hospice volunteer, what are some of the things that I should consider as far as a time commitment, as far as training? What are some of those ideas?
So time commitment after you go through the 9-week training is really, it's identified by you as the volunteer. You tell me what hours and days work best for you, and then we find a family that is looking for those hours and days. The only requirement is that you volunteer at least once a year. So we make it very lenient. It's a volunteer program. We don't want to put a whole lot of pressure on them saying, oh, you have to volunteer. We honor and respect our volunteers so much that we would never want to do anything to put any added pressure on them. So just once a year is the requirement after you go through the 9-week training. The 9-week training is a bit of a commitment. But the people that are going through the training right now, they don't want it to end. We're in our 9th week. They're like, no, we don't want it to end. And we want to come back and we want to keep learning. And so, of course, there's opportunity for that. Beyond the 9 weeks, and once you're a part of the program, we have ongoing support because we want to support our volunteers. But our training program runs for the 9 consecutive weeks, meeting once, one day during that week. We do offer it twice a year, once in the fall and again in the spring. So our next training is set to begin in September. I don't have the exact dates, but it'll run for 9 weeks, meeting 3 hours at a time. The 3 hours flies by because it's really a lot of fun. So if anyone is interested in becoming a hospice volunteer, all they would have to do is just pick up the phone and give me a call.
And what's that number again?
That's 442-5502, extension 4567. See how easily that rolls off the tongue?
Now, you were telling me just a few minutes ago out in the lobby that you have 15 new volunteers that are going to be graduating this time.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
It is fantastic. You know, throughout the 9 weeks, we generally lose some people because they decide on their own, you know, this really isn't for me. And that's why we spend so much time in the classroom, because we want to really know, okay, this is for you or it's not for you. And we started with 15 and we still have 15. So this time around, nobody decided that it wasn't for them. So I'm very excited about this class, and I'm even more excited to get them out in the field.
Now, how many volunteers, hospice volunteers, do you currently have working in the community, not including the 15 that are going to graduate?
We currently have 60.
60, wow.
60 volunteers. 20 of them are our Serenity Singers.
Okay.
So 40 of them are hospice volunteers, meaning that they've gone through the 9 consecutive week training, and they provide one-on-one companionship and respite visits to our hospice patients.
Well, that's interesting. I was just going to ask what is expected once a volunteer is fully trained. I think you were just saying it's kind of based on the individual needs and what their comfort levels are, but typically what is it that is expected of a hospice volunteer when they go to somebody's house? What is the family looking for from a hospice volunteer?
Well, every family is unique. I mean, think about your own, and then think about how it differs from others. So every hospice family has unique needs, and so we work with the family to identify how the hospice volunteer is best going to support them. Maybe that is sitting respite so that the mom can go out and get some rest. Or maybe it's companionship, just because the patient's really missing that social support. Maybe it's just coming over and playing a game of cards because dad's always been an avid card player. Maybe it's coming over to help out with chores. We do have some specialty volunteers who provide Reiki and Reflexology. And of course our Serenity Singers. So it really just depends on the goals of care identified by the family and the patient of our hospice families. And then we just work together. The IDT team, the interdisciplinary team, focuses on how to best support the hospice patient and family. And then we put the volunteers in there accordingly.
Now, where do the volunteers go? Is it all throughout Bennington County and just in Bennington County?
So currently we serve from Pownell up to Shaftesbury and then West End to Woodford.
Oh, wow.
So anyone in that area is where our volunteers would be able to go and visit. And that can be in a nursing home, it can be in a house, it could be in an assisted living facility. Wherever the patient calls home is where hospice would go to provide service, and therefore our volunteers would be able to visit.
And that's nice to know too, because sometimes, you know, patients might be in a retirement home or some type of rehabilitation home where that's their home, and they might just need that personal connection with somebody just to come in and sit with them for a little while and just, you know, forget about their troubles for, you know, at least it's the time period that, you know, somebody's there visiting with them. They might not have the social support outside, so it's nice to have that.
The one thing that I hear from our families all the time is, oh, we wish we had the volunteer come in sooner. You know, oftentimes when our hospice team comes in, you know, our chaplain's coming in and our social worker's coming in and our nurses are in and our aides are in. So we have all this wonderful support that is right there, right at the forefront. So they say, oh, let's hold off on the volunteers for right now. And that's the one thing that I hear all the time is, oh, how we wish we had the volunteers come in sooner.
Because they aren't coming in with any type of agenda or anything else. They're just coming there, hey, hi Mary, here to visit with you, and you know
what do you want to do today?
What do you want to do today?
Yeah, it gives them such independence.
Yep. And it just kind of makes them feel like, oh, somebody's, you know, coming here to see me, and it's unconditional. You know,
and it's the fact that it's volunteer.
Yep.
You know, they're not being paid to come. They're coming out of the kindness of their hearts. So yeah, that's really huge.
And about how many hours was it? I think you were telling me a while back how many hours you estimated that volunteers had just given in a year? About
2,200 in any given year, looking over the last 10 years.
That's phenomenal.
That's our average. So,
I mean, that's phenomenal for any volunteer organization to have that much community impact.
well, we are very fortunate to have our volunteers. Our volunteers really make things happen. They're incredible, and as I said earlier, I can't imagine not working with them because I've learned so much from them, and I'm in awe of their kindness. And
Is there any age limit that they have to be?
we do ask that volunteers be above the age of 16.
Okay. And then after that,
And
it's,
then one of our volunteers, our most active volunteer, is 92,
oh wow.
93, 94 maybe now.
So it's open to anybody.
Yes, yeah. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I would encourage anyone who's even just kind of thinking about it to just give me a call.
Yeah. Now you also have, to show appreciation for your volunteers, you have a luncheon coming up sometime in the near future.
Yes, I'm very excited about it this year. We have it out at the Old First Church Barn, as we have for the last couple of years. It's just a very quiet, serene area, and it overlooks the battle monument. So how picturesque is that? It's
Right.
gorgeous out there. And so we have a local speaker come. I can't say who the speaker is because it's a surprise for our volunteers. So we have an influential speaker come, and then we give them awards. And the awards are for hours volunteered and for number of years served as a volunteer. And then this year we have some door prizes. There are a number of really awesome venues out in the community that have given donations toward our volunteer luncheon for door prizes. So that's something new this year, and I'm just so grateful to them,
And it is great because, working with a nonprofit, there's not a lot of money, a lot of budget to be able to give what we would like to be able to give to the volunteers for every wonderful thing that they've done on their own time. So it's nice to be able to work with the community and have the community support to say, sure, I would love to donate something for, the hospice volunteers who are out there giving up their time to work with somebody. So the community support down here is really phenomenal.
Absolutely. The outpouring of donations was incredible. And everyone that I spoke to was just over the top thankful for the services provided by hospice.
Yep.
Almost everyone knew of someone or just said how great the services were, and they're glad to have us here in the community.
Now, what date is that event?
It's scheduled for May 27th.
Okay, so you're going
Yeah.
to have a couple back-to-back,
I
here.
am, but hey, it's all worth it. May is a good month.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, what other items can you tell us about the volunteer program that you do? What goes into, backing up just a little bit, what goes into, you said it's a 9-week training?
Yes.
About how many hours, you said once a week, how many hours is it that people could expect to be in the training once a week? And then what would typically be involved?
So altogether it's a 27-hour training.
Okay.
So each week is a 3-hour commitment.
Do you provide snacks?
We do break halfway through, and I do allow them to eat.
That would be important for me.
Absolutely. Snacks are always good. You'll always hear me say, any meeting that you're going to have, you need to have time for snacks and food. That kind of keeps you going. The topics are phenomenal. In the first session, we talk about intro to hospice, and then communication is the second session. And then we talk about diseases, prognoses, and symptoms and signs of death in the third. So you really kind of get into the nuts and bolts of end-of-life care. And then from there, we go to a local funeral home and have a tour, which is always an exciting session. And then we also talk about bereavement and death and dying and spirituality. And we wrap it up with self-care, which is extremely important for our volunteers. And then our final session is pulling it all together and what exactly will be expected of you.
Now, I think it's interesting. I thought I remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you have bereavement volunteers.
We do.
And do they need further training than what the hospice volunteers do, and how do they go about that?
They do go on for another 7 weeks, and those sessions are 2 to 3 hours long. For those who may not know, hospice does follow up with our families after the patient dies for up to 13 months. If they need us to be in there longer, we'll be in there longer. What our bereavement volunteers provide is that social support for our families after the patient has died, so they can assist with cleaning out closets if that's been a real difficult chore for the family. Or, a lot of times our volunteers will go in and just provide companionship, because all of a sudden they're so lonely, they just really need somebody to reach out to. Another thing that our volunteers have helped out with is some people have not actually ever balanced a checkbook before. So sometimes our volunteers will go in and just kind of help them get around how to balance a checkbook, or how to pay bills, or how to cook for one. It really varies, but we do our very best to meet the patient and family wherever their needs may go.
Now, is the bereavement volunteer, is that sometimes the same as the hospice volunteer, or would they be two totally different people coming in at separate times?
Sometimes they're the same person. Many of our hospice volunteers wear many hats all across the board. So they may be a serenity singer. They may also be a bereavement volunteer. One I can think of, she is everything. She provides Reiki. She is a serenity singer. She provides reflexology. She's a bereavement volunteer. So it really depends on the volunteers to let me know just how active they want to be. So, whatever it is that our volunteers want to learn or become certified in, we'll help them with that. We offer the Reiki to any of our volunteers who are interested in learning and becoming level 1. We also offer reflexology. We have a local person, a teacher, who comes in and teaches us how to provide reflexology. And not all of our volunteers are feet people, so they'd be like, no thanks. But if you are, we would definitely have reflexology available to those volunteers who would like to be able to provide it.
Oh, so it doesn't have to be somebody who is a reflexologist,
No.
I think is the correct term. They would come in and actually teach the volunteers how to do certain things for individuals.
Exactly. So a reflexologist in the community does come and show our volunteers how to provide reflexology. You don't have to be licensed to provide it. So our volunteers can provide that support if it's something that our patients and or family members are interested in.
Same thing with Reiki as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Reiki is a high utilized service of our hospice program.
I know that I have a friend who teaches Reiki, and she was trying to teach a bunch of 9 to 11-year-olds about Reiki. And if you know anything about Reiki, it was a little bit challenging to get them to sit for a short period of time.
Sure.
So, of course, there were some pets running around too. So, all of a sudden they see a cat going by and it's like, oh, kitty. So, but it is very calming, very relaxing. It's a nice thing to be able to offer, because sometimes that's just what you need, is just a little bit of peace and serenity. And so that's nice that that's able to be offered to the public.
Absolutely.
So, as we start to near the end of our conversation here, we have the Tree of Hope Memorial Service, which is Sunday, Sunday, May 17th at 3 o'clock.
Yes.
And that's on the property of the Bennington Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice at 1128 Monument Avenue.
Yes.
It's free and open to the public. It's for anybody who has lost somebody that they would just like to come and just a time of reflection, and just come as you are. Bring a dish to share if you'd like to, but, just come as you are. And then you have the Volunteer Appreciation Day, which is set for May 27th. And which day of the week is that?
That's a Wednesday.
That's a Wednesday.
Yes.
And that's for the hospice volunteers.
Yes.
Of course, I'd like to thank again everybody in the community who was nice enough and able to donate something for the hospice volunteers who are out there working. And again, if you'd like to know more information about becoming a hospice volunteer, you can contact Mary at what's the number again?
442-5502, extension 4567. I would love to hear from anyone who's interested.
And of course, you can visit our website at www.BAVNAH, which is our initials, Bennington Visiting Nurse Association and Hospice. You can visit that at any time, and we're always here to offer support and ideas and health news and information. So Mary, I want to thank you very much for being here with me today on the very first episode, and I look forward to many more. And thank you very much for watching.